Welcome to Fight the Good Fight Club, the podcast about the relentless pursuit of a life and relationships filled with purpose, love, joy, and peace. If you're ready to get real and dig deep, then you're ready for Fight the Good Fight Club.
And welcome to Fight the Good Fight Club. I'm your co-host, Cynthia Cintron.
And I'm Marcel Pope.
And we are here today to talk about I'm never upset for the reason I think I am.
That's right. And that is a lesson, again, from A Course in Miracles. And it's one of the earlier lessons in the course. And it took me a little while to really get it. But once I got it, I got it. So
it's a little, let's put some clarity around it because it's a little vague and it's a little, what is that? I'm never upset for the reason I think.
Okay, let's say you're in your home with someone in a relationship and the other person drops a coffee cup and it breaks and it just sends you through the roof. And you're like, why am I so upset? It's just a coffee cup. You got to dig deeper and figure out the breaking of the coffee cup is not why you're upset. That's the reason you think you're upset, because the coffee cup broke. But that isn't it. It's something else.
So there are layers and layers and layers. So it's kind of like an iceberg where the coffee cup, the breaking of the coffee cup is at the top, and underneath that surface, there's whole lot of stuff.
Exactly. There's something deeper down there that's disturbing you. And that's the whole purpose of the exercise, is find out what is robbing you of your peace of mind and your joy. That's very subtle, and you're not aware of it. And these subtleties that are ruining your peace of mind, you will carry throughout your life. Let me rephrase that. I have carried these throughout my life unbeknownst to me until I uncovered why certain things made me upset. And I've got some fresh material that just happened last night and 2:59 a.m. this morning that are good examples. Unbelievable how prevalent these ideas are.
Well, if you really, if you sit down and think about it, I know that when you and I were talking about it, things and times, and they just came flowing in. I remember my ex-husband and it's funny because you don't realize when it's happening until you really start to pay attention to it. One time I was in the bathroom and I guess I left the cap off the toothpaste, which I am wont to do.
Death penalty, by the way. Go ahead.
And I left it off, and all of a sudden he comes in, you left the cap off the toothpaste, and then proceeded to rattle off this list of sins that I had committed.
Was that the other part of the iceberg on the
it just came. It was like what was that movie with Keanu Reeves where all this stuff's coming at you and he's like
The
dodging
Matrix.
and diving. Yeah, I was totally pulling a Matrix. I'm like, whoa, it's flying past me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Half of which I didn't even remember.
Yeah.
I had no idea what he was talking about. So it is. It's that thing where when there's a feeling that something is coming at you and you're like, yeah, that was just a little bit more than I intended it to be.
Exactly. And that is the point, like the aha moment. And to kind of extend that Matrix analogy, there's a scene where bullets are being fired at Keanu, and he sticks up his hand, and the bullets just stop right there in midair, and he grabs one, looks at it, and they all fall to the ground. Whoa. And that's the purpose of this lesson, is to figure out what is disturbing you, be aware of them, catch them, and let them go.
My mind just blew. Yes. I need a moment. My mind just blew. That imagery, though, is profound.
Absolutely.
It really is, right? It's when you can find that one thing that pulled out will unravel so much energy.
Exactly. And, I love that because that was totally improvised. We didn't rehearse any of that, and we never talked about the Matrix.
Nope.
But it also brings us to a point of what this podcast is about. It's conversations you and I have had inspired by A Course in Miracles. And it's really about trying to find the peace of mind, find out what's disturbing us. Because as we get older in life, there's something that we are lacking, we feel, I think. And when I say we, I mean me, you, and many other people.
All
All of us. There's a deeper inside yearning, I think, for love and peace above all else. And then we get to certain levels, and we don't know why we're not happy. Holidays is a good time for that. People go, oh, I'm supposed to be happy, and I'm not. There are many, many divorces that happen in the midst of the holidays because people realize they're not happy and they should be. And then you have to examine why you're not. And this lesson really helps you uncover the quote again, I am never upset for the reason I think. And so
let's dig into the lesson a little bit. What does it say specifically, and tell me about the practice of it, because when you were explaining it to me, I thought it was really profound.
Yeah, so when you read it, first of all, what is the purpose? It's really to have peace of mind. So in this lesson here, part of the exercise is you just take 10 minutes and you just calm your mind and see what bubbles up to your mind. It's usually something that's gnawing at you, something that's disturbing your peace. And it could be someone told you a lie, somebody that you know and that you consider them a friend, but you found out they lied, okay? And then all of a sudden you find out they did something, and that's something else. And so so
it sort of reveals itself in something when you're at peace and you're meditating. Usually when you still your mind like that, the things that are bothering you will bubble to surface.
That's exactly right. And it could be something that's disturbing you, but you got to ask yourself, why is that upsetting me? You want to get to the root cause of the problem. It could be that you thought you had trust to this person, and it goes deeper down to a deeper level other than something they thought, said, or did. It usually relates to something in your personal life unbeknownst or unrelated to this person. It's dredging up something that was already there. And so I am never upset for the reason I think. And it could be a fear. It could be a depression, anxiety, a worry. It could be anything. The purpose of the lesson is not the form, not the person, not the upset. It's the content, and they're all the same for this reason. They disturb your peace of mind.
Exactly, and they relate back to you. So when to myself. So when I'm going through those layers, this person did this to me, this person did that to me, that person did that to me. Rather turn that around. I am upset because of X. I am upset about this, so that it comes back. Because at the end of the day, whatever injustices or whatever things people may have done that we perceive that they've done to us, they boil down to something, a loss or a fear that we've experienced that we are now allowing to play out in this situation.
Exactly. That's exactly it. The purpose of that lesson is to dig down to what that is. Here's a classic example. Have you ever been driving down the road and someone cuts you off?
Oh, no, never.
Okay. Why is that so upsetting? Did they look at you and see that you were behind the wheel and decide to cut you off? So they cut you off, but it invokes usually anger. Right? And maybe you expound off some expletives and you point your finger. But examine that. Are you upset because that person cut you off? Is that really why you're upset? And
no, I'm upset because it potentially endangered my life.
Okay, that's a good answer. And so it's probably truthful, but usually a lot of times deep down, it could be generic. Again, it's a form, right? Someone cut you off. Someone did something they weren't supposed to do in your mind.
Right.
Who else did something they weren't supposed
that we
to do?
perceived that they weren't supposed to do.
Exactly. And they're related.
And how did it make us feel?
Exactly.
And then when that thing happens, it plays back.
And so it disturbed your peace of mind. It brought anger out in you. And again, if you have anger, there's something below that that's causing the anger, not the person cutting you off.
Yeah.
This is very subtle.
Yeah.
And you're right. Okay, they endangered your life, but typically, more often than not, it's something else.
You felt
unrelated.
disrespected. You felt.
That's right.
I don't mind sharing a conversation that you and I had when we were talking about this lesson. We were just exploring, and we were talking about something that happened to someone that I knew. And you made a statement very innocently.
Yes.
And this person took their life and recently. And the statement that you made was innocent. You know, oh, they jumped off a building. And I'm surprised at how offended I was at my perception.
You actually got angry.
I did, at my perception of how cavalier you were about someone losing their life, like it was no big deal. And I said something to you, and you said, oh yeah, so whatever it was that you said, again, because it's not even about what you said. You made a statement, which made me angrier, and I just was really upset. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that you, of all people, would think this, would be so heartless, would be blah, 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 blah. Fill in all the blanks.
Right.
So we looked at each other, and, you know, we're just sort of now going back and forth, because I've now set you off. You're upset that I'm upset, and you're trying to understand why I'm upset. So does this sound familiar to anybody? Well, somebody says something, somebody else reacts, and then you're in this circle, and you're just like going, and it's just the energy is just filling the room.
Your anger, you directed anger toward me, which invoked anger in me. You told me, don't make statements, and I took that as, you're telling me what to do.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
I don't like anyone telling me what to do, because once when I worked for a corporation, people were telling me what to do that wasn't right for people. So it invoked that energy in me.
Exactly. So
when
now
someone's telling me what to do.
When you perceive that someone is telling you what to do. So now you are in Marcel world, going all of your layers deep.
Exactly.
Even though we're up here talking about this thing that really is not.
Yeah.
And then I'm in my Cynthia world, going all these layers deep.
Exactly.
And all this stuff is playing out. So there's like this whole hurricane going on below the surface and above the surface.
Exactly.
And we just kind of looked at each other. We're like, whoa, this is not good. When we're going to like
the irony of this happening with this lesson. I'm never upset for the reason I think. Well, it's actually, just a statement.
Well, what's funny is that it's not even ironic. It makes all the sense in the world, because if you sit down, anyone could literally fill a sheet of paper front and back with how many times this happens, because we've all lived all the miles behind us.
Exactly.
They've all, and all along the way, we've collected all of this baggage.
Yes.
Right? So to come back to the point of I'm never upset for the reason that I think, and back to where we're talking about this particular, this example between us, what happened for me, and we sat with it and we recognized that, okay, this is just not. First, we recognized that, you know what, we really don't want to be upset with each other.
Yeah.
So
where's this anger coming from? Why is it here?
Yeah, and that's what happens, right?
Why?
So one of us has to sort of, disarm, be the first one to say, okay, let's look back at this.
Meanwhile,
and you started asking me the questions.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, when did this happen? Where did this come from? And I started going back. And mind you, I'm still irritated.
Sure.
And it's going back and back and back and back. We peeled back the layers and had a really interesting conversation. And what we figured out was, and here's a hint. Here's a hint that is really interesting. And it's happened in podcast episodes with us before. And in therapy and stuff, it's happened with me before. You know that you're touching on it when the tears come up.
Yes.
When the tightening happens in your chest and the tears come up, you know that you're hitting that, you're getting
that trapped
boom,
energy.
Boom. Yep. That is the epicenter, or that's the moment. So what started to come up for me, especially since I'm not a big crier, and we're going back and back and back, and you were asking me, when did that come up for me first? And so let me just go back, because there's a lot of stuff now. My head's swirling with all the information. But I said that this woman took her life, and you asked, well, what was she upset? And I'm like, and you said, well,
how do you know why she took her life?
There you go. Because I connected with a friend, and there is information as to her state of mind, and I said she was in a lot of pain. and I started talking about what it was that was going on for her. And you said, well, why is this upsetting you so much? And then I went a little deeper and I said, well, because I could relate with her. You said, well, how? And I said, well, I remember feeling that way.
Yeah.
And then, well, when did you feel that way? And when I was very young and I felt trapped. And again, we've talked about the fact that my childhood was really difficult and I didn't have a healthy relationship with my parents, and you know how I went to a point in my life where I felt like taking my life, and I really connected to those feelings of what it felt like, and the tears came up because I was there with it, and you saw that, and then you started to connect with me, and you were now understanding.
And it wasn't my statement that made you upset, which it appeared that it was. What really made you upset, it brought you back to a place in the past, typically, and it's very rarely an exception, where there was energy in there where you could identify with what happened to this person. And it's almost like, I was being callous towards you and didn't care about you. I don't understand you. That and all those things are bundled up into the real reasons why you were upset. It wasn't the statement itself.
No.
And this is huge because this is the impasse that I personally have reached a lot of times in my relationships. Don't know how to get past it. I don't know what's going on. And inevitably someone leaves and just leaves that energy in order to pick it back up in another relationship.
And you have to really be mindful of it, because at the same time that I'm going through my thing now, you're still holding on to the energy that I told you what to do.
Exactly.
So then we went back and we did it with
which
you.
is a whole nother ball of wax.
Ooh. So
but we recognize.
But we did that, and we had that conversation. And again, what happens, hopefully, most of the time, because you're seeing intimacy is intimacy, when two people connect and share those moments with each other, and when they feel that someone else understands them,
that's it.
They feel loved, they feel appreciated, and peaceful and happy. So
exactly. And so that's, to me, is the underlying purpose of this lesson, is to get to the root problem. What is disturbing your peace of mind? It's not the person you think it is, or even what they said. There's something else within you, and it's usually a circumstance, event, or person in your life, a situation from the past. Generally speaking, could be anything. You were at some place, something happened, someone said something to you, in a situation with someone, something happened that shouldn't have. It's all, and that energy gets trapped and it's triggered if anything's remotely dancing around that topic or issue, that event, that person, that situation, and it's never resolved. And so you carry that with you, and you go into the next one, the next relationship, and it's there. So I do believe, okay, I'm going to speak for myself. I have found that I've always been trying to work this stuff out. I didn't know how. And if I'm with someone, I get shut down. So I try to get vulnerable, and the moment that I'm shut down, that's it. That's like that relationship's done, because I can't feel safe enough to speak what's on my mind. I'm judged. It's about me, not them. I'm trying to open up. And so that cycle perpetuates itself. And at some point I thought, okay, that's where the idea was of Fight the Good Fight Club. What is the good fight? It's the good fight. The fight is within ourselves to figure out what is going on, and don't put that onus on someone else. You did this to me. You caused this. Okay, something like that happened, but you're responsible for how you feel about it. And that was the toughest thing for me to learn. And once you kind of understand it, actually doing it. We talked about how running a marathon, I've run a couple. When I ran my first one, I realized the marathon was, dare I say, easy. What was hard was the training. The training. So we're in training to obtain the end result, which is peace of mind. We can get a glimpse of it. We're maybe 2 miles into the 26 miles, and it's going to be frustrating. You and I were legitimately angry at each other last night, and it caught me off guard because I thought that I had a handle on it and that, oh, yeah, I'm figuring this stuff out. And just the moment you think you know something, you realize you know nothing, that this is a work in progress. It is 1 mile into a marathon. And the truth of the matter, we may not even be able to complete the marathon, but I'm willing to keep trying until I die. But I don't want to give up on the race. I'm too far along it now. I can see in the result, I've had so much pain that I don't want it anymore. I'm sick of it resurfacing, and I don't want it. I finally found something that I really want. I want peace. Before, it was dealing with the pain, putting a Band-Aid on it, trying, okay, move on over here. But now I'm running toward the light. I'm no longer running from the darkness, which is what I've been doing my whole life. I want to run toward the light, because you and I talked about that. What do we do if we actually get rid of all this BS stuff stored in us, this baggage? What are we going to do? Well, there's only one left thing to do. You got rid of the darkness, so there's only the light to run toward.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that I personally am running more toward the light, and I think that I see that in you because how quickly, with rapidity, we got over that anger spot last night.
Yeah.
We woke this morning, we looked at each other and said, you know what? That was all pixie dust. That whole thing was just pixie dust. It ruined our peace of mind temporarily. Where is it now? It doesn't mean anything because we got to the root cause of the problem, and it's like a laughing matter, which... And speaking of laughing matter, at 2:59 a.m., along the same topic, I am never upset for the reason I think. I have a friend that's going through a tough relationship.
Yeah.
She's always being upset by this guy. And it got to the point where she texted me at 2:59, 3 text messages that were like a pamphlet long. And the gist of it was, he's doing this, he's doing that. He's not inviting me for dinner. I saw him cooking dinner. He didn't invite me. I asked him if he wants to if he wants to play a game. Something's wrong with him. I think the fumes at his job is affecting his brain. It's nothing to do with her. It's all about him. So ironically, last week, I challenged her. I said, why don't you figure out the role he's playing in your life, because he's letting you down, but why? What is it you've assigned to him? Because when you were alone, I saw you very happy, but now that this guy's in your life, you're very miserable. And so anyway, and that actually happened this morning at 2:59 a.m. So, and I haven't spoken to the person.
You've had a rough
yet.
night.
The chauvinistic part of me is, it's always women.
These women are making me insane. What's at the root of the problem with you and women?
The root of the problem
why
is
are
always
women so
me.
attracted to tormenting you? I think that's the problem. I think the root is that you just...
The truth of the matter goes back, I think it was...
Since the beginning of time, it's all about Eve.
That's right. Maybe it goes back
you
to...
ate the apple.
That's right. Well, that's it. The snake caused you, Eve, to bite the apple.
Well, I think the snake was a male.
So I blame you, and
So
you blame the snake.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, it's a man's fault.
That's right. Always. That's it.
Oh, goodness.
It's always blame. It's never us.
That's
it's someone
right.
else.
Because I'm never upset for the reason I think.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so snakes, women, bridges, car, everything, Matrix aside, let's just because this lesson,
it's huge.
I think there's just so much energy and it just brings up so much because at any given moment, it could be anyone.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, whether it's your coworker, your wife, your child, your dog, your boss, whoever, your mother, your kid, whoever it is, the one thing that's in common in all of your relationships is you.
That's it.
You're the common denominator. So, and you said this last night, and you said, this is about me figuring out why this statement is upsetting me. Because what was it that you said? An apple is an apple, or what was it?
No, water is wet.
There you go.
So to get mad that water is wet makes no sense at all. It's the nature of water. So if anything is just being its nature and upsets you, then there's something, quote, wrong with you inside. So
There you go.
and what's wrong? Well, your peace is being disturbed. That's really what it's about.
Right.
So
really, I am allowing my peace to be disturbed.
exactly.
Because the peace exists in all of us.
Without question. And it's
So-
yearning for us to be at one with it.
Exactly.
And I do believe that.
So what does the lesson say? So the lesson specifically says for you to sit and be with it.
Typically, it's 5, 10, 15 minutes once or twice a day, usually twice a day.
Okay.
You sit, you relax, and whatever comes to your mind, and unfortunately, it's usually negative. And I think part of that, even before all this, I remember a quote, most people lead lives of quiet desperation. And I remember how that always rang true to me. I thought, why? Well, now I've got the answers. Things are disturbing our peace of mind. So the lessons are you just quiet and calm and see what comes to your mind. And it's inevitably a grievance. It's a fear. It's an anxiety. It's a worry regarding a person, a past event, a past situation. It's something in your past typically. And if it's going on currently, it's just feeding whatever happened in the past.
So is it of benefit, or can you really identify those things as themes that are reoccurring over and over?
Exactly.
And over? Maybe the people are different.
Correct.
But the theme is the same.
The theme, so when you say the people, those are forms. The content is the same. It's disturbing. So, okay, if you have a still lake and say that's your mind, it's very calm, very at peace, and a pebble is dropped into it, creates a ripple. Well, it's not at peace, the base level of peace that it was because of a pebble. Now, if you threw a boulder, it's going to cause a bigger ripple. But they're the same because they both disturbed your peace.
Okay.
So for that reason, there is no difference between the two.
Okay.
The form doesn't matter. So we assign different levels of peace disruption. You know, you get lied to or cheated on. Arguably, most people, well, being cheated on is worse than being lied to.
Isn't it
But
the
for the
same?
purpose of
It's
the
the same.
exercises, they both disrupted your peace, right? So that for that reason, they're the same. That's why all disturbances are equally disturbing.
Okay.
Whether, no matter what degree of or weight we give each one, they all have the same effect. They disturb your peace, and that's what you want. So the
So
smallest,
when your peace is
yes,
disturbed, the objective then is to find the path back to peace.
that's right.
Okay.
And inevitably it involves letting it go. And that's been the subject of our previous podcast, loss and abandonment. We have to let those, because ultimately there's an underlying fear deep down that is disturbing our peace, and it's letting that fear go and finding out what is it really, you know. So.
And so when you're in, and we can talk, actually, you know what? I'm going to talk about how this plays out in relationships. But before we do that, we'll do that after the break. Here, I'd like to talk about what the exercises are that you do when you're, so you've woken up in the morning, you're reading your lesson, you're meditating, the disturbance is coming to surface. And what does the Course in Miracles say that the exercise is?
So basically, whenever the disturbance, and I'm going to use the book itself.
Okay.
It says, say a person comes to your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just going to use the name, Betsy.
Mm-hmm.
I am not angry at Betsy for the reason I think. Or I am not afraid of Betsy for the reason I think. So if a person comes to your mind, or if maybe you're going to go somewhere, I am not afraid to travel for the reason I think.
Okay.
And then once you get there, then you say to yourself,
identify.
yeah, you identify whoever is disturbing your mind. That's not the reason. So, and here's what it says: I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then I will regard them all the same, because they all disturb my peace of mind.
Okay.
And so I am not worried about blank for the reason I think. I am not worried about COVID-19 for the reason I think. And so it's usually whatever's disturbing your peace is the bottom line, because the goal is to remain at peace. And arguably, I think it's going to be a work in progress till we die. But like the marathon, when you're training for a marathon, the first, you get to 5 miles. Once you break through 5 and get to 10, you think, oh my gosh, maybe I can do this. And the miracle happens. You start realizing that, hey, I can do this. And after a while, running, it's no longer a challenge. Your muscles got stronger. Your peace muscles have gotten stronger. You're able to deal with whatever's disturbing your peace better. And that's, I think, what it's about. So the other thing is, there are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. And really, it's letting the past go.
One more time, the mantra that you say to yourself once you've identified them is?
Well, there are several in here.
Okay.
So if it's a person, I'm not angry at Betsy for the reason I think. Okay, I'm not angry at Betsy for the reason I think. Or I am not worried about this situation for the reason. Whatever comes to your mind. So that's the mantra, I'm not upset for the reason I think. And so one last thing I want to point out with this course. So we've done a few of these podcasts. We haven't done the lessons in order. And I think the reason for that, because when I first started doing it, I'm like, I don't get this. But I stuck with it. And it reminded me of that movie, The Sixth Sense, with Bruce Willis, when, at the end of the movie, you suddenly realize that he was dead the whole movie. Oh. You didn't know that.
You haven't seen the movie.
And then when you go back and watch it again, you can see from his dead point of view, from the point of view that he was dead. So this course is the same way. Some of these lessons in the beginning are like, I don't get it. But once you go through the course and you can go back through it again, like watching the movie for a second time, you get it. And you go, oh my gosh, I understand that lesson now.
And they're all tied together. It's sort of like threads in a fabric.
That's right.
Woven in the fabric. They're all sort of interconnected, and they all create the fabric of peace, but they're all somehow connected and related. And so you can do them out of order.
Oh, without question. I mean, without question. So this particular lesson, I guess it's helped me out probably some of the most out of all of them. So I was relating this to the person that texted me this morning, and we had conversations prior to that over the past couple of years. And I'd say, why are you upset? What's the real reason? And it's, I don't want to be alone. Well, what does it mean I knew you when you were alone? You were great. You were happy. I'm afraid to be alone or I'm afraid to lose him. And what's that mean when you lose him? But then I'll be alone. And it comes back to the fear of being alone. And so
he's a crutch.
That's exactly, he's a crutch. But what is it that causes you pain when you're alone?
Right.
And it came back to the loss of her father. So, and then, relationship with her mother wasn't good. And it comes back, I guess, to those age-old relationships where, so at any rate. And again,
you can talk to her till the cows come home. If she doesn't take control of her own destiny and her own peace, it'll be. So we never can, we could lead her to lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink.
And I think the purpose of us recording, it's almost like someone finds out they have lung cancer due to their smoking. What do you say to them? Well, I told you should have quit smoking. You don't do that.
Right.
And if they're still smoking, you go, you got lung cancer and you're still smoking? You don't say that. You're just like,
you just support them.
Maybe you're not a true friend if you're not speaking your mind, but it's the same stuff with this. You see somebody going through something, what do? You're not trying to cure people. People close to you maybe come talk to you.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are you upset? Examine that,
All right. So on the way back, we're going to go to break. And on the way back, we'll talk about a little bit more about identifying how we're never upset for the reason I think in relationships and how to manage that. And we're back to Fight the Good Fight Club, and we are attacking a big one. I'm never upset for the reason I think. And I think that it's so overwhelming, and for sure we're going to hit this topic over and over again because it's gigantic. It takes in baggage from history, it takes in family, it takes in all of our relationships. There's so much. So really with this episode, we want our listeners to start to identify and pay attention to these moments that are causing upset, and then maybe start to look at the lesson and then how they can start to identify peace or the peace that they want to have in their lives. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, again, using the marathon analogy, a marathon's 26 miles. And it's when you're trying to find peace of mind, it's like a marathon. You start out with a mile, but stick with it, because I personally run marathons, and I never forget the feeling I had when I completed my first marathon. And I do feel that this personal journey of personal growth and dealing with your whatever they are, hurts, pains, fears, demons, worries, dealing with them and overcoming them is just as exhilarating as it is running the marathon. So it's a journey that I think most people I'm starting to feel that it's a journey that everyone is going to embark upon. It's a question of when are you going to start?
Yeah. And how, and I think that it might also be important for me in my journey. I find that, of course, it's painful and it hurts. Nobody wants to do what hurts. Again, with the analogy of the marathon, it hurts like heck to run a bunch of miles, but you do it because you're looking at the end goal, and your end goal is your desire to run a marathon. The same thing with relationships. If your end goal is just to make this relationship work, that's a short-sighted.
Right.
It might work towards your goal. Maybe you want to be happy in all of your relationships. That definitely is
Absolutely.
a valid goal.
Yes.
But I think that if the vision is much broader and much larger, I want to be happy in my relationships. I want to feel peace.
Yes.
Then as you're moving through your relationships and handling how you are unpacking your baggage through your relationships, it sort of touches on all of your relationships.
Absolutely.
So I think that just to sort of make this a bite size, right? Because you want to eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Sure.
So to make it something that you can handle in this sitting, maybe identifying one or two areas in your life, maybe one area. There's a book that I read. It's the big one or something. You identify one. Just tackle one. What is the one thing that comes to surface at the top? Focus on that one, because it's going to spill over. It's going to have a ripple effect. Just the one thing that is causing you the most pain at the moment.
Yes.
And be with that. And don't worry about the other side of it.
Exactly. Yeah, just try to work with that one. And this lesson in particular, to your point, if you can find one small success, then you can build upon that and find another. But the end goal is to have peace of mind and happiness in all your relationships. And so not leaving it to someone else to, quote, fix you or understand. And then we own in our pain.
Yeah.
And we've chosen it. And so it's up to us to be responsible and to let it go or hold on to it.
Yeah. And along those lines, you were telling me a story that you wanted to close with. I think it's super profound.
So my mother is 84. She's Japanese, and she was born in 1935. So during World War II, she was there. And after the war ended, she met my father in the Korean War after World War II. But long story short, after years of pain and suffering that she experienced through losing children, husbands, she is now, last year came down and she lives with me now. But now I'm learning a lot about her as a person, and I find her triggering some things in me, and I find myself being aware of how I'm feeling toward her. And there are, in particular yesterday, we were sitting there and we're looking outside. I said, Mama, I said, drama is just disruptive to our peace of mind, because she was talking about a lot of drama, things that we tried to put to rest, or let me rephrase, I've tried to put to rest in a previous podcast about someone I forgave. But the reason it was so hard, because this person has hurt my mother a lot. And she continually brings up that pain and keeps talking about it. And I'm trying to help her let it go, but she's going to do it at her own speed. So the bottom line was, she goes, well, I meditate. And I said, you do? She goes, yeah, I've been doing it since I was 5. When I was in Japan as a little girl, the schools taught us how to meditate. And I've been doing it since I was 5. I said, so during the whole time that we were all growing up, you would meditate? She goes, yeah. I said, I don't remember seeing you. She goes, well, I did. And I said, how come you didn't teach us? And when I said that, inside I could feel some anger. Like, you could have helped me with a lot of issues in my life, because meditation helps me. And I felt this anger, and I was shocked. But because of this course and wanting to learn, I was immediately able to let it go, because I thought she was struggling in her own right with a man, a husband that left her with 5 kids. She's trying to make her way, take care of us. And so she was trying to take care of herself through meditation. She didn't stop to think, well, I need to, teach my kids. She was surviving as a single mom with 5 kids.
You don't know if you would have listened, if you would have taken lessons in meditation, if it would have run. You were a kid.
Exactly. And so the point was that I was aware of my feelings of anger toward, and I thought that was just so wrong on so many levels.
Well, because you were hanging your peace on your mom.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not her responsibility to hold your peace. Her responsibility is to do what a mom is supposed to do with their kids, right? And that doesn't always go well.
Exactly.
as planned, better said.
So I moved through my selfish, egotistical self and stopped thinking about myself, and I focused on her as a person and started listening.
Today and now.
Exactly. And I started thinking about, wow, Mama, that's amazing. So and this is all in the span of a couple minutes that I processed all that, realized what was happening, what I was thinking, what I was feeling, and I was able to instantaneously let it go. And I think that's the purpose of this lesson, is to maintain your peace and don't let anything disrupt it. And the number one person that disrupts our peace is ourselves, and how we latch on to things, how we interpret things, how we relate them to our past. It is to maintain that level of peace. And if you're in a boat navigating the ocean, no matter what storm comes up, you can still go through the storm and get to where you're going and remain where you are. So I forgave myself for feeling that way toward my mother. I realized it's just an emotion that came up, processed it, and was able to focus. She's an 84-year-old woman who, has been through so much pain, and that I have to look at her for her and not relate it to my own, that I'm learning to. So that the purpose of this whole thing is selfishly was for me and you to have these conversations, and this is going to be another podcast on giving and sharing is receiving. So as we're having this conversation, I don't know who's going to listen to this and who we're sharing it with, but I am getting a better grip on my own peace and maintaining it by sharing it with you and us conversing about it. These lessons are getting more deeply ingrained rather than me sitting alone and going through this and process. It's the sharing of this information.
Right. And everyone's journey is their own.
Exactly.
You and I approach our journey to peace a little differently. And I think it's really important for people to understand that everybody is their own person. And we may have someone who's a devout Catholic. We may have someone who's an atheist. We may have someone who, they just meditate. Maybe they're Buddhist. Who knows? This has nothing to do with religion. This has everything to do with in the context of what feels safe for you, because really and truly, besides the fact that we are human beings, the goal for everyone on the planet is to be happy, at peace, joyful. We are creatures that are intended to be in relationships. We are creatures. That's why, Tom Hanks on the island was, Castaway was doing his thing with Wilson, because he is just we're not supposed to be on an island by ourselves. We are supposed to be in relationship. So whichever way you get to that, I think it's very, very important from my perspective that we be gentle
Yes.
with ourselves,
Yes.
with the people around us, that we not fight
Yes.
the need to have our emotions come up.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We're going to feel sadness and anger and fear and guilt. It's really about how we
Yes.
process that. What I love about what you say is that if the storm comes, the storms are going to come. It's how you weather them. So the storm is coming, the anger, the stuff comes up, the feelings happen, and there's crew on the ship, and there's destinations you need to get to. The only thing that we can control is ourselves.
Yes.
You know, how we experience it and how we go. The deeper our foundation of peace, the more we understand each other, the more we ourselves, the more we love ourselves,
Yes.
the better we're able. It's almost like the love that we feel for ourselves is our ammo. It's our blanket. It's our ammo. It's our
Yes.
food. It's our, everything that we need to propel us forward.
And in truth, whatever you have in yourself that you're going to project that onto other people, and if you're going to project it onto the other person. So I read this somewhere and I understood it completely. We are learning more about ourselves in a relationship than we are about the other person. We're trying to work the inner workings of ourselves. We're trying to work it out and be okay with ourselves. But more often than not, and I've done this and had it done to me, someone else's issues are being dumped on us, and we're so busy confronting their issues, and they're defending them and projecting them on you. You don't even think about yourself. You're just in defense mode, and there's no time to think about anything else but defend you. So it's like that's an unhealthy relationship, right? It's typically a dependent, where this person's dependent on you to make them happy. Mm-hmm. You're playing that role, and you're going to let them down eventually. So a healthy relationship, the reason ours is because we can get angry, but we got over that pretty quick. Those were legitimate angers. We found the root cause.
I was
got over it quickly, and we weren't. It wasn't.
Well, because we were focused.
Yeah.
We were cognizant of the fact that we were both having our stuff, and just so that the audience understands, we were feeling feelings. We were angry. We were hurt. There were tears. There was conversation going on, but we stayed focused. We were looking at each other. TV's off. We're having a conversation, and we are actively working individually and as a team to make ourselves and as an extension our relationship the best it can be. And as a result, a deeper level of intimacy, a wonderful level of peace, and I guess that's... And
you're never the reason I'm ever upset. It's always something. You're one of the most loving people I know.
You too.
After you've been through so many fires, you can still radiate this happiness and this sunshine.
Remember that the next time I unsettle your peace.
I take back what I said. You're raining hell on me, and I resent you for it.
And on that note, we're so grateful. I am your host, Cynthia Cintron.
I'm Marcel Pope.
And we thank you so much for listening to us today, and we can't wait till the next time. Be at peace.